Now, before we get started, just want to have a little bit of a disclaimer. I am not one of those people. I just like raccoons. That's why I'm using raccoons to tell this presentation. You want to learn about the events of 2020, some of the major events. Oh, this is going to be a hard one, isn't it? Well, this is the point of this video essay, to tell you about the events of the 2020s. So our first major event of the 2020s was the 2020 presidential election. Now this election was by far the largest one in US history, with over 160 million people voting in it, whether they were voting for Democrat, Republican, or anything in between. On the Republican side, and the current president at the time was Donald Trump, having been quite a controversial president during his time. He would be facing against former Vice President and Senator Joe Biden, who was running for the Democratic Party, who, as his time as a Vice President, was considered quite good. If you were wondering, he was the Vice President for Barack Obama. Now, during this presidential race, there was a lot of controversy between whether votes were real or not, and who was actually voting. I mean, we apparently had dead people voting for multiple candidates. I just don't understand how that was a thing. But despite all of that, Joe Biden won the election 306 to 232 in an absolute landslide. Now, there were many Trump supporters that were really turned off by this result, to say the least. Many of the extremists that followed Donald Trump, or at least appreciated the ideals he had during his presidency, would take action on January 6, 2021, which would be the first time there had been a major, significant physical divide in the United States since the South seceded from the Union. So the reason for the attack on the Capitol on January 6, 2021 was to possibly overturn the election results and to perhaps murder the Vice President, House Speaker, and whoever they wanted. Now, I will make a note that was not the intention for everybody who attended that attack. These actions were wanted by neo-Nazis, Confederate sympathizers, and several other groups such as the Proud Boys, the Oath Keepers, some of the Three Percenters, along with plenty of other groups that promote white supremacy and far-right Republican politics. Overall, just not very good people. On that day, 9 people lost their lives and more than 200 were severely injured and hospitalized. To this day, there are still people being arrested for their involvement in the attacks. And you can find people that are still being searched for on the FBI's most wanted list. They have an entire section dedicated to the people that did these horrible acts on this day. But all in all, it was a failure. The insurrection was suppressed, and Joe Biden became the 46th president of the United States, despite there being many people that think that Donald Trump was still technically president, even though he simply wasn't. Well, it's time to go from serious to sad. I don't even know how I'm going to start off this segment after I put that in here, but I'm going to give it a try. So on January 2nd, 2023, there was a football game going on between the Buffalo Bills and the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, this was the last game of the season, so most of the teams didn't really have anything to play for, but tragedy would strike when a player named Damar Hamlin, a safety for the Buffalo Bills, would be hit by a Cincinnati Bengals player, and shortly after being hit, would collapse on the field. While he was laying there, he essentially died. His heart stopped, and there was nothing that you could do, seemingly. But with defibrillators and a lot of CPR, he managed to survive. Along with intensive care at the hospital, Damar Hamlin managed to survive and would even play in the NFL again. As for the rest of the game would be suspended indefinitely and would not be played. Both the Cincinnati Bengals and the Buffalo Bills would go into the playoffs with one less game on their record than the other teams. Well, you would think after 3 extremely serious and depressing scenarios that I would put a funny one in. Well, you're right, because I don't want to do 4 straight depressing topics to cover all of the 2020s up to this point. So let me show you the greatest moment of 2023 reenacted by raccoons.
Jada, I love you. G.I. Jane 2, can't wait to see it. All right? That was a nice one. Okay. I'm out here. Richard. Oh, wow. Wow. Will Smith just smacked the out of me.
Keep my wife's name out your mouth.
Wow, dude.
Yes.
It was a G.I. Jane jump.
Keep my wife's name out your mouth.
I'm going to, okay?
If you didn't already know, that was a situation that happened a couple years back during the Oscars when Chris Rock was slapped by Will Smith because of some comments that his wife deemed mean. To put it nicely, I can't say what she actually said. But what you might be wondering are the consequences. Now, Chris Rock did not press charges, but Will Smith did get banned from the Academy Awards and all other awards for the next 10 years. So that win for King Richard that he had that year is the last one he's going to have for a long time, if ever. What a way to throw your career down the drain, huh? Well, that's about all I have for you. Thank you for watching this presentation. I hope you had a good time watching it. I know I enjoyed making it.